of 52-foot containers of palm oil valued at 25.8 million cedis. Now, according to a statement issued a while ago, the shipment had originally been declared as goods in transit to Burkina Faso. However, authorities say the consignment was unlawfully diverted into the local market in Ghana without a payment of the required duties and taxes. Now, the anti-corruption body disclosed that preliminary findings point to the involvement of some customs officers, national security operatives, and clearing agents. The alleged scheme is believed to have caused an estimated loss of 10.5 million cedis in tax revenue to the state. And the OSP indicated that the probe stems from an intelligence-led operation conducted in November 2025, which uncovered irregularities surrounding the handling and clearance of the shipment. So while investigations remain ongoing, the office emphasized its commitment to safeguarding public funds and ensuring accountability in the management of imports and transit goods. The statement stressed that the Special Prosecutor's Office remains focused on protecting the public purse and upholding integrity in public administration as the investigative process unfolds. So the statement is out here already. In a related development, 18 articulated trucks declared for transit to Niger, which were suspected to be part of a broader diversion scheme, were intercepted at the Akanu border. And post-inspection checks revealed the discrepancies in declared unit values, tariff classifications, and weights, increasing the estimated revenue exposure from 2.6 million cedis to over 85 million cedis. And these are serious issues. They were intercepted by the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority over suspicions of irregularities. And the vehicles were allegedly moving without a mandatory customs human escort, a serious breach of established transit procedures. Well, these are issues just coming in. Have my guest say a word or two on this development. But before that, on our big conversation this morning, my guest is going to be the Member of Parliament for Ofuasia Yorubi and Ranking Member, Economy and Development Committee of Parliament, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, as we continue our conversation on government's 24-hour economy. And he's already seated here with us this morning. You know, the 24-hour economy has moved from campaign promise to statute. I mean, Parliament has passed the enabling law. A dedicated authority has been established. Targets have been set. Yesterday, you had Dr. Amano here in the studio. Haven't set the target at 1.7 million jobs over 4 years. Government argues Ghana's heavy import bill proves demand already exists, and that local factories operating below 40% capacity can scale to substitute imports. But the Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is here. The minority says ambition without effective demand and cost realism risk policy overreach. And this morning we examine the economics around it and all of that. So let me introduce officially and formally into the studios of Asaase 99.5 the Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. Good morning, sir. Akwaba.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you
too. It's my first time being interviewed by
you. Yes. No fun to know if I papa send me down. I'm with you. Okay. All right. Yeah. Kojo, you just heard me talk about the OSP and the statement issued out there. What's your initial reaction to it?
I think it's good that when matters of this nature occur, a proper investigation is done to determine the causes and to find ways by which we can ensure they don't happen again. It's for this reason that, and I'm digressing here, but it's for this reason that on a number of other matters that have happened, we have called for proper investigations. You will recall the $214 million loss on the gold for reserve transactions. We have called for investigations in Parliament. We filed a motion asking for an inquiry. Mr. Speaker has had the motion listed, but we've not had the opportunity to take it on the floor yet. We've also filed another motion to investigate the causes or the reasons for which we had such high levels of failure in the BCE that just took place. And it's been listed, but we haven't had an opportunity to take it. Now, the reason for which it's important to investigate all of these things is so that we can understand clearly why it happened, and more importantly, prescribe solutions. So I understand and I appreciate the fact that in this particular matter, they want to do an investigation. But I think that investigation should not just be for this matter, but should be for all of the other matters, including the ones that I've mentioned. I think, however, that this particular administration that we have is interested in a lot of public relations and settings to create an impression that something is being done when the real substantive issues are not being dealt with. And I've said this over and over and over again. You know, in the oil palm industry, Ghana has an annual consumption of about 400,000 metric tons of oil palm. In many of the rural areas, we grow palm oil. When it's harvested, the women will process it into oil palm. There are light and even heavy industries in many rural areas that actually buy and produce palm oil into oil palm. Benzo oil palm, GOPDC. The oil palm industry alone in Ghana, oil palm. The oil palm industry alone in Ghana employs about 1 million people. That's how important that industry is. In Ghana, the annual domestic production of oil palm is about 260,000 metric tons. So 260,000. So obviously there's a deficit. And so you would expect that there will be some importation to close that deficit. As at now, and a program to ramp up local production to close it, because oil palm is really not rocket science. We're doing it, we just need an incentive to scale it up. The problem is that the floodgates have been opened for unbridled importation, which is even cheaper than what is on the local market. And so gradually, our 260,000, I think according to the latest data, is even coming down to about 200,000. Because you have a lot of importation at cheaper prices coming in. And now you have smuggling syndicates joining. So while it is good to investigate this, there's a bigger problem that the government needs to attend to save the oil palm industry. And that bigger problem includes ensuring the fact that we're able to shore up local production and potentially even curtail the importation.
If possible.
So I agree with the idea that there should be an investigation to understand what has happened and you know who is culpable, blah blah blah. But I think there's a bigger issue they have to deal with, which is to deal with the gradual collapse of the local oil palm industry. And if we're able to do this, then we will get some comprehensive results beyond what appears like Asmara, let's investigate and find. No, we got to just do this, but go beyond this and do the substantive resolution of the sector.
All right, so that's Kojo's reaction to what just came out from the OSP. Right now, we are dissecting the 24-hour economy, and Kojo, you've argued that supply cannot sustainably expand without matching the effective demand. What evidence suggests that Ghana currently lacks that demand?
There is no evidence to suggest today that Ghana has that demand. That's my first point. So it is not proof by counter argument. You see, there's a history to this whole 24-hour economy conversation. In 2023, 2024, when we were heading for the elections, there was a lot of polling on the key issues that were driving the election. The cost of living crisis was number one, and number two was unemployment. Now, on unemployment, the MPP had its propositions on how to tackle unemployment. The NDC argued that our propositions didn't make sense and that they had a better proposition known as the 24-hour economy to solve unemployment. And their argument was that they were going to triple the current work shift, which is mostly the 8-hour shift. So they were now going to get, first of all, public sector agencies to work on 3 shifts and encourage the private sector to also do 3 shifts. And so they came up with this idea that they were going to do 1, 3, 3. 1 job, 3 people, 3 shifts. This is what they sold to millions of young people, and lots of people believed it. They even had a very nice, catchy song about it, done by my good friend Nasi. And it really caught on. And the promise was that they were going to triple the current work shift. When they came to power, in accordance with Article 36(5), we have been insisting that for all their policies and programs that they are going to run, based on the social contract, they need to bring them to Parliament. And if you followed, I've been one of the major advocates consistently hounding the government that bring your policies and programs to Parliament so that Parliament is seized with it. Why? Because Parliament is the body that will exercise oversight over the executive to be sure that they do it. We chased them one whole year. They didn't bring the policy document to Parliament. We heard that they had launched it in the public domain, but they never brought it to Parliament. It's only this February that they brought the 24-hour economy policy to Parliament. In December, they brought a bill, which bill was known as the 24-hour Economy Authority Bill. And we had the opportunity to go through the bill. And to my major disappointment, the bill does not deliver the promise that they made. The promise they made was
on
triple,
campaign platforms.
Yes.
Okay.
And in their manifesto. In fact, in their manifesto, they listed the public agencies that they wanted to start with.
Okay.
Customs, DVLA, Passport Office, and a few others. Now, the bill they brought did not respond or deliver on the promise, whether on platforms or in the manifesto, which is the social contract with the people of Ghana. And they've changed it now. That now they want to do something they call Grow Ghana, Go Ghana, and a few other things. The bill essentially seeks to set up what they call an authority. It will employ a chief executive and about some 100 staff. And even their core functions, in accordance with Section 3 of the bill, their core functions are not to ensure a 24-hour work cycle. If you read the functions. So the core functions are that they are here to promote exports. GEPA is doing that already. You don't need to create a whole authority to duplicate what GEPA is doing. They say they want to boost small-scale enterprises and micro enterprises. That is being done by the Ghana Enterprises Agency already. If you go through the functions, you will not find anywhere in the functions that it says that this authority is responsible for ensuring that selected public agencies even work for 24 hours. So what we did as a minority was to propose amendments, private members' amendments to the bill, that your promise is that you want to make the work cycle tripled, both in the public sector and in the private sector. It is not in your bill. So we are going to help you by moving that amendment. Because they rejected it on the floor of Parliament. Your parliamentary correspondents can find you the videos. They rejected it that no, they don't want it in the bill. We said, okay, you had earlier advertised that you wanted to move Ghana from the 8-hour shift to what you call the 133 system. It's not in your bill. Isaac Adongo told us that it doesn't need to be 133, it could be 122. We said, no problem. Whether it's 133 or 122, put it in the bill. They said, no, it's not in the bill. In fact, even the agencies that they mentioned in their manifesto, as I mentioned, Passport Office, DVA, all of these ones, it's not in the bill. So we said, okay, we want to introduce it into the bill. Again, they said no.
Why?
That
they give reasons.
Well, their argument was that would be too limiting. This was the argument of the majority leader. And so for that, they voted no. So the bill they have passed, even though they tell people that they have passed a 24-hour economy bill, they haven't. They've passed a 24-hour economy authority bill to establish an institution known as the 24-hour economy authority. And if the object of that institution was to deliver a 24-hour economy, we would even agree with them. The object of that institution, and the president has signed it, the final version will come out, you will see it. I encourage you, let's not, do one of those things where the matter comes, we discuss it, and after a while, no. When the president's assented act comes out, pick it and read it to your audiences. The functions are not connected to delivering a 24-hour economy. And that is why we say that what they have done amounts to a misleading of the youth who they promised a 3-hour shift. Number two, structurally...
So it's possible we are not going to see a 3-hour shift at all?
I don't think so. I think what is going to happen is that, even before now, there are organizations that already operate 24 hours because there's demand for their services. I mean, the government hospitals that operate 24 hours operate because there's demand for their services. The police stations that operate 24 hours operate because they have to provide that service, and people will probably come in the middle of the night in need of a service. But where there is no demand, no producer who produce at night. In economics, we have a basic argument that it is not out of the benevolence of the baker that he bakes bread. It is because there is a demand for it. Producers don't just produce and pack. They produce because there's demand for it. So our argument, and that's our second point, is that if you want to increase productivity, you don't just increase productivity by claiming that you've set up an authority, even if that authority was supposed to compel or assist people to work for 24 hours. You increase productivity by creating demand for it or by stimulating demand for it. And when you create the conditions that demand a particular product, a supplier or producers will now produce, and they'll produce at competitive rates for it. So fundamentally, how they have conceptualized the 24-hour economy itself, in our view, respectfully, is very flawed. And then secondly, the law that they have passed even doesn't have anything to do with how they conceptualized it. The law is about an authority, which authority, I regret to say, will not deliver a 24-hour economy between now and 2028. God give us life, we'll have an opportunity to observe what they are going to do. You're going to have one or two agencies claim they are doing it. And I predict that a number of them will even stop along the line because there's no demand. So GEHOC, for example, earlier announced that they were going to do 24 hours.
So I was going to go into the GEHOC example, but even before that, yesterday, Dr. Amano mentioned that we import about $3.5 billion in food annually. So isn't that a clear evidence of unmet, domestic demand
on the food side?
Yes.
Okay. But the answer to that is not a 24-hour economy authority. The answer to that is to examine why are Ghanaians importing more food than consuming, or why are Ghanaians consuming more imported food than domestically produced food, and how do we solve that problem? So let me give you an example. Take rice. I don't have my data here on the quantum of rice vis-a-vis the local production of rice. What I had here was the oil palm, which I just gave you. But take rice. Today, there's a major rice glut in Ghana. And if you send your reporters to the rice growing families, the rice growing communities, there's a lot of uncertainty and chaos because rice is stuck in the warehouses, having been produced and milled, but there are no buyers. You know why? Because imported rice is cheaper than domestic rice. Imported rice today in Ghana is cheaper than domestic rice. So the local rice farmers who have produced rice, their rice is stuck in the warehouses. I have videos from rice farmers in some of the communities in the eastern region where I visited. We've published some on our social media pages where they have spent months producing rice, milled the rice, and it's stuck because there's cheaper imports on the market. So if you want to, as it were, solve this problem, is your problem really limited production of rice? 2, is your problem really a 24-hour cycle production of rice? 3, is your problem really things like what they say, the time of use electricity tariff and the other incentives that they initially mentioned that they will give? Or is your problem about the cost of production of rice? Which cost of production, if you intervened, you could then tackle and ensure that even what is produced today gets a market because it is viable on the market. So our argument is that if you misconceptualize the problem, you will come up with a solution that doesn't deliver anything. And in the case of the 24-hour economy, respectfully, that is what we see that they have done. And that's why we are suggesting to them that they still have about 2 more budgets to go. They still have time. If they would only listen and go back to the drawing board and fix the real issues, they have a chance of delivering an answer. But if they go off on this PR settings, propaganda agenda, because they know very well that the law that they have passed will not deliver 24-hour economy, but because they want to convince the young people that they've done something about it, they are busy on the front pages saying that, 24-hour economy law has been signed and it has come. They know, and that's why we say that what they are doing is PR. They are not tackling the real issues. So if they would take time and tackle the real issues, they could make some progress in this area. But where they are going and the approach they've taken, I regret to say that we don't see how they are going to deliver a 24-hour economy with this bill.
Kojo, you referenced GEHOC scaling back extended operations. Was that a macroeconomic signal or simply, firm level inefficiency?
They gave us clarity
Yes.
that because of the government's economic policy of 24-hour economy, they were now expanding their operations to 24 hours. Now, at firm level, it's not even about efficiency within. We are saying that any basic producer in microeconomics will produce for a market. So if you are producing, let's say on an 8-hour shift, and you are producing, let's say, 20,000 liters of your products at Gihok, and the market is able to uptake that 20,000 liters, or the market is not able to produce that 20,000 liters, the market is uptaking, let's say, 15,000 liters. The mere fact that the government claims it has introduced a 24-hour economy program, and you've been appointed as MD of Gihok because you are an associate of the party, does not mean that you can announce that they are going to triple their work cycle and by extension triple their production, and that they will find a market for it. So you notice that they tried it, and after a while they came back saying what? That it doesn't seem to make economic sense. And that is a clear example of the point we are making. So it's not just a mere announcement from government or even a mere push from the supply side that push. Because if the demand is not there, your business will not be in equilibrium. You will produce and you will not be able to take it out from a consumer point of view. And that's what has happened in their case. And that is why we are saying that what the government needs to do is to focus on demand stimulation. If you want to expand the economy, focus on demand stimulation. And when you focus on demand stimulation, you will get a lot of natural effective demand coming onto the market, and producers will compete among themselves to produce. So take the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, for example. The thinking behind it is to open up the African market, 1.3 billion people. So that if you had unfettered access, instead of producing 40,000 units of your product in your small country and struggling to get it out, you now have a larger market across Africa, 1.3 billion people that you could then service. So you see, the Continental Free Trade Area, first of all, is about expanding market access and stimulating greater demand so that producers will produce some more for it. And as producers are producing, you have investors on the back of it. If you go on the other side, that what you want to do is to produce some more, where it doesn't make economic sense, like what you have just alluded to, you would have to reverse that decision somewhere down the line. And that's what's happened in the case of Gihok.
The other question has also got to do with whether Ghanaian firms can absorb these higher nighttime operating costs, utilities, security, labor, premiums. What do you think?
I don't think it's even about the nighttime cost. I think it's about the cost of production.
Even if the 133 is going to work.
Yeah, but I think it's even about the cost of production generally. A couple of weeks ago, I was on one of the television stations, and I made the point that cost of production is going up. So ideally, the prices of goods and services on the market is going up. But inflation is going down, first of all, as a matter of statistic, because the rate at which it is going up is slower now. So you would say that year-on-year inflation is going down. But secondly, because of the methods that the government is using, which is a lot of sterilization. And they will argue and argue and argue, but that is a fact. But you see, if you are running an economy in which you are not focusing on ensuring that you either arrest or reduce cost of production, it's not about nighttime production. It's about general production. So today, electricity bills have gone up, I think, minimum 24%. For the guy who's producing during the day, this is his problem. You haven't solved this problem for him. And you claim that the guy who's producing in the night, they had a name for it. They said time of use tariff. You see, the guy who's producing in the night is going to get a cheaper tariff. Even the logistics of rolling out a time of use tariff to be able to determine who is operating at night and therefore is having a different tariff or not, they haven't figured it out. But if you haven't solved this basic problem even during the day, it's fanciful to me as you start talking about having a different rate at night. What you should be doing is, I think, having a separate industrial tariff. So that industries in general have a separate industrial tariff. They have a tariff that is cheaper than domestic consumers. That is when you will be stimulating or encouraging industry to be able to have an affordable cost of production. If you're able to tackle these things that affect the cost of production generally, that is when you are making some progress, not through what they are talking about.
They're already projecting 1.7 million jobs in 4 years.
Yeah.
Would you consider that a projectable, projected? Well, is it that ambitious? Is it too ambitious? Is it credible?
I mean, if you look at the unemployment challenge we have in this country, we should be doing numbers like this. What matters more is,
but under this,
that is the point. What matters more is the strategy that you are using to deliver it.
Yeah.
Else, then the target itself doesn't mean much. So what is the strategy here? The strategy here is they've set up an authority.
Yeah.
I don't know how that authority delivers 1.7 million jobs. In fact, even in the already existing public services, the promises they've made about recruitment, they promised they were going to recruit 50,000, I think, teachers or so in 2025. They didn't do it. 2026, now they are talking about recruiting, I think, 13,000 or 12,000 or something like that. They promised automatic posting for those in the health institutions.
Yeah.
They haven't done it. Nurses, in fact, I was on a show a couple of weeks ago. A freshly recruited midwife says she's worked for 11 months, hasn't been paid. So even the basic one, they are struggling with. How do you then tell me that you're going to do 1.7 million over a 4-year cycle? So the method you are using today does not give, for me, confidence in that. Then the other thing, already they are confused about their numbers.
Yeah.
I was on a show with the technical advisor to the finance minister who claimed that they've created 1 million jobs in 2025.
1 million.
1 million. And he claims that the jobs are reported by the Ghana Statistical Service. I'm digging for that data. I'm still looking for it. Then a couple of days ago, I think I heard another senior government official say 300,000. Both figures for the year 2025. So even this measure of the job numbers is questionable, let alone the methods that they are thinking about using. I am of the view that the public relations gimmicks and the settings need to be toned down so that they pay more attention to the substantive. So if you want to create jobs, what is your strategy for assisting the private sector to be able to create those jobs and to expand and create those jobs? We had a 1D1F program. The National Development Planning Commission has reported on the success of that program and the jobs that were created out of that program. I'm of the view that if they had continued it, even if they thought there were problems and they had fine-tuned it, more and more factories will be churned out on a year-by-year basis, which will create more jobs. But when they came, one of the first things they did was to cancel the 1D1F program. So essentially, the incentives that we were offering private sector to be able to, grow and expand and create jobs have all been thrown away. And they said its replacement is the 24-hour economy. And that is where we are today.
And appearing on the show yesterday, Dr. Mano Dodu also said the employment drive will be anchored on new industrial parks, agroecological corridors, transport infrastructure, and private sector expansion. And planned initiatives include pharmaceutical manufacturing hubs, renewable energy parks, cassava and oil seed corridors, poultry clusters, and a Volta economic corridor that will use inland waterways and rail to move goods between northern and southern Ghana.
There are two development.
How feasible are these?
Yeah, there are two development philosophies that I am very familiar with. One is a radicalist approach.
Okay.
One is a gradualist or the incrementalist approach. What he's talking about appears to me to be the radicalist approach that says build new industrial parks, new industries that will then transform and create a big boom of jobs. If you look at the history of economic transformation, usually that happens when you identify a new natural resource. Other than that, it's very difficult to be generally radicalist in economic thinking. What appears to work a lot more is the incrementalist approach. So today, you have industries that are operating in Ghana. You have sectors that are operating. What you do is that you assist them to scale up and to expand and to reach larger markets. In so doing, you deepen the knowledge in these areas, the expertise and excellence in these areas, and you access larger markets. What I think would help this administration is if they therefore pay attention to the existent Ghanaian industries and find ways of assisting them to get access to larger markets, to reduce their cost of production, and to expand. When you do that, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But if you abandon them and you say that what you're going to do is to focus on creating new industrial parks, new industries, etc., the learning curve is going to be way longer. And you have only got 4 years. Already, you have delivered 2 out of your 4 budgets. So even fiscal support you require for these initiatives, you don't have it in the first 2 budgets. It's the last 2 budgets that, assuming these ideas they are talking about are feasible, it is in the last 2 budgets that they will have to find fiscal support for it. So I think the way they are going about some of their things is very problematic.
And it doesn't give you that confidence, that hope that something good is going to come out of this whole 24-hour.
We've been in government before. We've succeeded on some things and we've failed on some things. And when you start heading towards a place where you are going to fail,
you see it.
You see it. And I am
and there are
very
clear
worried.
signals with this one.
I am very worried. Listen, if you start by, I'll give you a practical example. I'm one of those who's never shy to admit our mistakes that we made in the last administration. We had a brilliant idea to get more money to the assemblies, $1 million per constituency. There were 2 choices we could have made. One choice was to keep the already existent district assembly structure for financing and project execution and just make extra money available to them. We chose to create new institutions: Northern Development Authority, Middle Belt Authority, Coastal Development Authority. And a lot of the analysts suggested that, listen, don't create new bureaucracies for this. Use the old existent structures and make these parallel programs that will deliver faster. At that time, you've come to power, you have a lot of goodwill. We said, no, we'll create new institutions. Listen, a lot of the job got locked up in the new institutions and never came out of the pipeline. So sometimes when you are creating new institutions ostensibly to try and deliver on some of these problems, you just bog yourself down into bureaucracy and problems. You have a 4-year mandate. You want to triple the work cycle, like you have said, and boost productivity and jobs. Who tells you that by creating a new authority, this authority that they've just created, they are now going to start going through establishment processes? I established the Right to Information Commission. It took over a year to establish the Right to Information Commission, and that was even one of the fastest establishments that had ever been done. So if you don't take care, by the time we're in 2026, that is when your authority has finished its recruitment and is now going for workshops on how to train its people and do standard operating procedures, and you are left with the election year to deliver 24 hours. That is why we're of the view that where they are heading will not help them. It's free advice.
But Kojo, will the minority demand periodic performance audits of the authority?
Not just this authority, but on the various government programs. Remember, I took you earlier to Article 36(5), that the Constitution requires the government to deliver its raft of policies and programs to Parliament. They haven't done that. They haven't delivered the one under Article 36(5). And admittedly, the constitutional provision says within 2 years. By the way, that's one of the things that we had wanted to amend if we had won power, to make it, I think, about 6 months or 1 year. Because what it does is that it leaves a government wasting so much time. 2 years is too long. You need to do it within about 6 months. You've been campaigning for so long, you must have your ideas. So they haven't brought it yet. Apart from that, the programs they've been launching, they haven't brought those. On Sunday, I mentioned on one of the networks that we are thinking about going to the Supreme Court for an order that the 36(5) provision includes all other programs, not just the one in the raft that they bring in 36(5). It includes all other programs. So now to answer your question specifically, when those programs and policies are brought, in them you are supposed to find the key performance indicators, and that is what then Parliament, through its sector committees on a regular basis, will be asking for and will be following up on.
Will you be pushing for a clear funding transparency?
Well, they have said that they need about $4 billion to set up the 24-hour, or to make the 24-hour economy functional, and that they are looking at a mix of public funding and private funding. We are, once this authority is established, though we think it's not the way to go, once it's established, we'll be inviting them to come and explain to us how they are mobilizing those funds to be able to execute the 24-hour economy.
Because I know in the budget they had about 110 million Cedis to start with.
Yes.
And yesterday, like you said, yesterday, Dr. Amano said they were going to speak to the private, institutions to ensure that they come in with support and all of that. But like I was asking to know if there's that plan by the minority to push for a clear funding transparency.
We will be pushing for it. We will be inviting them now that they've been established by law. We'll be inviting them and getting into the detail, because you remember they were supposed to present the 24-hour economy policy document to Parliament, and they promised that Mr. Guzitando will come do that.
Yeah.
He never did. It was one of our workshops in Parliament on a Sunday when he showed up and did a PowerPoint presentation. But in Parliament we have procedures. You come and you lay it properly, and then it's referred to a committee and you are invited. It's only this February that the majority leader laid it on his behalf, and it's now been referred to my committee. So we will be inviting them to get into the details, including clarity on the sources of this $4 billion that they'll be using for this 24-hour economy program.
Okay, Echo, ask you. Critics say the minorities' skepticism is political positioning. If you were designing this framework from opposition, what would you prioritize?
I would prioritize demand stimulation. I have been on record at saying that it is possible to get a 24-hour operation in some selected areas. But what you have to focus on is to stimulate demand. If you focus on stimulating demand, it will backward integrate itself into getting supply to meet it. So if you wanted to, for example, boost local chocolate consumption, this is just a theoretical example. If you wanted to, for example, boost local chocolate consumption, local chocolate processing.
Okay.
I don't think that the way to go is to say, I want to support people to buy machines to produce more chocolate. What if nobody's interested in consuming the chocolates? Then you say, okay, now let's look for exports. I think one of the things to do, that same amount of money that somebody would have spent to, let's say, buy machines for people to produce or to process chocolate, I'd rather spend that money stimulating demand. Okay? So having, let's say, like a chocolate consumption program at the basic school level. I'll use that same money to pay for that. What that would do is that once that demand is available, you will find private people going either to their banks or to private equity companies or asset management companies to say, I have a contract to supply free chocolate drink for 2 million Ghanaian children, every day. I need to invest in processing plants. And the production or the productivity sector will come together. The financing and things will come together to assist him to meet that demand. If you reverse and you are just focused on supply, I think that you may find yourself in some of the difficulties that you are finding now.
Well, listeners, I'm talking to the Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, MP for Fuasi Ayerebi, and he's my guest this morning. We're talking about the 24-hour economy and all the things that have come with it, all the issues with it. Yesterday, the man in charge of innovation was here, Dr. Amano. It's only proper that we engage the other side of the political divide, to actually get their thoughts on this particular one. And Kojo is a ranking member, Economy and Development Committee. That's with a minority in Parliament. But what's the biggest economic blind spot in this current 24-hour economy design?
I think I've mentioned it quite a number of times.
Like, okay, which one?
Which is the fact that they are focusing heavily on the creation of an authority.
Okay.
Instead of tackling what will convince producers to produce for extended working hours.
Okay.
The authority does not deliver that. And I think if they focus more on the stimulants that will get producers to produce for extended work hours, they will be closer to home.
Well, Dr. Dodo again hinted that the 3-shift system is more of an aspiration, and the incentives given will help realize that.
That will be very unfortunate.
Yeah,
because that is not
what
what
he said.
that's not what they told the young people of this country when they were campaigning.
That's what he said yesterday.
They should. Well, yeah, that's what he said yesterday, because they are trying to rationalize and turn around the promise they made. You make a promise, win power on it. It's a social contract with the people. So don't turn around and say that it was only an aspiration. No, You made a commitment to the people that you were going to ensure that public organizations, and you even listed them in your manifesto, work for 24 hours. How do you turn around and now come and say that it is an aspiration? It's not an aspiration. It's a clear commitment that you made. Make it happen.
All right, make it happen. So that's what Kojo is saying. If 4 years from now, the manufacturing output rises, imports decline, and jobs increase, will the minority concede the model worked? And if it underperforms, what accountability mechanisms are you going to apply?
The people of Ghana hold the highest accountability mechanism. In 4 years' time, well, now it's about 2 years and about 8 months, they will go to the polls and ask themselves the question, did this administration deliver on the 24-hour economy? Did this administration deliver on the cancellation of licensure examinations? Did this administration deliver on automatic posting? They would ask themselves the questions, and then they will exact accountability from the government. Where they feel that the government has delivered, they would give the government an opportunity to continue. Where they feel that the government has deceived them, they will punish the government. That's how our democracy works, and that's the kind of accountability system that exists within the Ghanaian democratic space. Our job as a minority is to, first of all, share with them the lessons and the alternative propositions that we have. And secondly, hold them to account for the promises that they have made. The combination of these two will offer to the Ghanaian people another perspective to observe. So I'll give you an example. In 2024, Dr. Bawumia said that one of the ways to stimulate a lot of productivity in the economy, and as a result of that productivity, jobs, is by introducing a credit system in Ghana, where majority of people don't have to do cash and carry, but they can get an item today and amortize the payment over a period. So Dr. Bawumia and the MPP spoke about introducing a credit system in Ghana. That credit system, if we were empowered by now and had started functioning, would ensure that teachers, nurses, all of those on payroll have a backbone in the credit system that allows them to consume or to purchase a lot of materials and spread the payment or amortize it over a period. Now, what that is going to do is that the producers of those items, instead of producing maybe about 5 units a day, can now produce about 20 units. So productivity will go up. And when it goes up, where they require more hands, then they will recruit more people. That is the alternative proposition to boosting productivity and jobs in the Ghanaian economy. Our colleagues said that they were going to do a 24-hour economy. In 2.5 years' time, when the Ghanaian voter goes to the poll and compares what they've delivered on the 24-hour economy to what they promised and looks at our proposition, we are hopeful that the Ghanaian will then say this is a more feasible proposition. Also, especially because this same Bawumia guy, a lot of the ideas that he brought earlier, those that found the light of day to be implemented, we are seeing the benefit today. And therefore, this is new idea. I can trust in it. We are hopeful that by the time we get to that 2028 mark, the Ghanaian will exact accountability in this measure and make a choice that will be in our favor and give us an opportunity to implement some of these policies and programs that should deliver for the Ghanaian.
All right. So on Friday, we expected to have the State of the Nation address by the president. One of the things that have been talked about in the last month or so has to do with the cocoa sector. What are you expecting from the president? There is a general refrain that the economy is doing well.
So I'm reminded of the fact that last week Friday I requested the leader of government business to clarify whether we'll be inviting some cocoa farmers to join us and hear directly from the president. Because, you know, for the State of the Nation address, we get guests. And usually it's the top brass of society. We don't get the average Ghanaian coming in. So I made a request to the leader of government business that we should bring in the cocoa farmers or their representatives so that they can also hear directly from their president. Now, earlier we had requested from the president that government should reverse this 28% haircut on cocoa prices and take it back to the 3,625, and you finish this cocoa year Because this reduction from 3625 to 25 is happening within the same cocoa year.
Yeah.
The cocoa year that started with 3001.
Yeah, 3001.
That the government then moved it to 3288 and then to 36. It's now ending at 25. It's worse off than what we had made available to them. So we were saying that because of how the cocoa industry functions, once you've announced the guaranteed farm gate price, if you change it to the detriment of the players in the value chain, you will collapse the whole industry going forward. So it's important that government reverses this 3.6, takes it back to 3.6, at least to finish this year. And then if you want to introduce the reforms for the next year, we can have a conversation about that. Today, I just got an alert that in the Eastern region, purchasing clerks are holding a press conference to demonstrate the kind of anguish that they are going through. You know, so far we've been talking about cocoa farmers.
Yeah.
People haven't averted their minds to the purchasing clerks.
Yeah.
A lot of the purchasing clerks have already taken the cocoa from the farmers at a price of 3,625. And now government says it will buy it from them at 2,500. That is a loss of about 1,000 cedis plus per bag. In Parliament last week, I told the story of a purchasing clerk I know who came to me. He gave me a call, actually, to complain that he had bought 200 bags. And if he was going to lose 1,000 cedis on each bag, that's 200,000 Ghana cedis lost for him alone as a purchasing clerk in the village. You don't take economic decisions that leave people at this point and say that the economy is doing well. And I'll come to answer that second part.
Okay.
So we are asking the government to reverse it to 3625. So on Friday, my hope is that the president, when he stands before the country with about 1 million cocoa farmers watching him and about 3 or 4 dependents per cocoa farmer, about 4 million people in the cocoa value chain, my prayer will be that the president boldly announces that government will take the hit and protect the cocoa farmer. We cannot punish you for our mistakes. And so government will take the hit and will protect the cocoa farmer. That is one of my major expectations that the president hopefully should fulfill when he mounts the rostrum on Friday. Now, this refrain that the economy is doing well, I think is bolstered by 3 or 4 major things. Number one is the currency. Because the currency has appreciated by about 36%, the cost of imported items has not gone up. In many places, it hasn't come down. It's come down in some areas, but in many places, it has just not gone up. The other thing is inflation. So again, because the currency has appreciated, and now the fact that the Bank of Ghana is doing a lot of sterilization, when you measure inflation, the effect is that inflation is slowed down to about 3.8% or so. So that's another matter that people are looking at. These, for me, are the 2 predominant reasons for which people say that the economy is doing well. I have had occasion to speak about the fact that people should pay attention to the methods that are being used, the cost of those methods, and the sustainability of those methods. Because if to satisfy the desire to bring stability on the currency front, what you choose to do is to do heavy market intermediation, over $10 billion in 2025, to pump into the market to bring down the value of the dollar. Of course, it will be pegged at 10, but now what you have done is that you are subsidizing anybody who is externalizing funds, whether for the purposes of importation or profit repatriation. You will think it's doing well until you realize that you have now lost 36% of all cocoa board's revenues, and you can't pay the cocoa farmers. That is where it now comes to hit you. You will think you are doing well until you realize that you have subsidized those who are importing rice. You have subsidized them by 36% on the Cedis side. And so the local rice producer now has a rice glut, and he can't create more jobs next time. That is assuming he will even go into rice production next time. So the methods matter. It comes at a cost. So today, not only have you denied yourself the opportunity cost of further building our reserves with that 10 billion that you used to intervene, but now we are hearing that you've sold 50% of our gold reserves. And we are beginning to believe that you are using part of the forex earnings to continue the exercise of intermediation. And that is the cost. That brings us to the last question. So how sustainable is this?
Yeah.
Today, gold prices are on a rally on the world market. So you get windfalls when you are doing this. What if gold prices come to their regular levels? When I made this point in the middle of 2025, we were rebuffed. You see that when it happened in the area of cocoa, now they are coming back home to tell you that they want to cut cocoa prices.
Yeah.
And by the way, the cut in cocoa prices is not because of the slump on the world market. It's because of their own internal decisions. That's why they couldn't hedge.
What are some of the...
I will come to that. I just want to answer your first question. Okay. I can come to that.
All
right. The methods they are using, whether it's for currency stability or for inflation, they've done sterilization of over 62 billion Ghana cedis in 2025. Initially, they were denying it.
Yeah.
Their own documents bear us out, page 284 of the 2026 budget. So how long can you keep sterilizing 62 billion? And this is the reason for which, if you send your reporters to the market, they will tell you that the goods are on the shelves, they are reducing the prices. Why? Because nobody is buying. Because demand has been suppressed. So our argument is this. You can use these methods to achieve these numbers. Yeah. And the people will feel the impact, albeit temporarily. But when the rubber hits the road, that is when you have to cough up the real reasons. And we've made the point that AsaasePa in 2001 had a similar experience. Kwabena Dufo in 2009 had a similar experience. Ken Oforiatta in 2017 had a similar experience. So if you choose to go the same path and you don't fix the real fundamental issues of the Ghanaian economy, when the people start making demands of you that, okay, where are the jobs? Why are you not paying the contractors? Why are you not paying the farmers? Why are you not finishing the projects? You will then find out that if you try to answer that one, the economy goes back to where it was. And that's why we keep saying that there's a need to pay attention to the fundamental issues. At least learn from some of our mistakes and don't run around in circles.
Well, the Cocoa Board and Randy Abbey and everybody have also put some issues out there claiming the Cocoa Board was in debt and the producer price and all those things have come together to, bring us to where we find ourselves now. And so the cocoa farmers should be, they should understand the situation. It's what do you make of the arguments that they've put out there, justifying the haircut?
Those arguments, respectfully, are untenable. And let me explain to you why. If it is about debt,
yes,
they have told us that they inherited a debt of about $3 billion. 30 billion at a rate of 10 is $3 billion.
Yeah.
We inherited a debt of about $4.75 billion. We didn't cut prices. So that argument doesn't hold. If it is a reduction in the global market price, why that argument doesn't hold is because in our early years, cocoa prices on the world market also came down. I have gone on public record to say that I was in the cabinet meeting when AsaasePa made the argument, fully with the support of the president, that despite the fact that world market prices had reduced, because of how the cocoa industry operates, you cannot punish the cocoa farmer for it. It takes him about 3 years to get his cocoa to harvesting point. He would have already invested in his fertilizer and his labor and his weedicides and all his other chemicals that he needs for his farm. He has most likely even forward sold his cocoa to the purchasing clerk
even before,
based on the guaranteed price you have announced. So you cannot come back and say that you are now reducing the price. At worst, don't increase the price. Maintain it. Government absorbs the difference because government already takes 30% of all cocoa earnings. So you absorb it, and then as we go forward, when the yield gets better, you close the gap. So if it's about debt, the argument is untenable. If it's about price, the argument is untenable.
They simply have not managed the
They have made decisions that have collapsed the sector. Those decisions are three.
Okay. Which are?
One, they have shifted from the hedging model we use, which is the forward sales approach, which used to sell about 70% of our beans forward, now to about 70% spot, because they were deceived by the illusion that spot pricing is better. Nobody forced that decision on them. They made that decision. 2, even when they made that decision and spot prices were about $10,000-11,000 a ton on the world market, they didn't sell. They were hoping that it would go higher. 3, nobody asked them to pump $10 billion into the forex market to force an appreciation of the cedi by 36%. When they did that, what it meant was that all of Cocoa Board's earnings, every dollar that Cocoa Board earns, they now lose 36% on the cedi side. Where are you going to get the cedis to pay the cocoa farmers? So the price that you have guaranteed, you will not find the cedis to pay for them. So these 3 decisions, they are not as a result of global market forces. They were their decisions. The board and the management and the government took these decisions. So it is on their heads that this crisis falls. And they cannot punish the cocoa farmer for it. But by the way, if indeed it was global market forces, when did our colleagues in the NDC start realizing that global market forces can translate into local prices? I thought when crude oil prices went up through the roof because of the war in the Black Sea, and then we mentioned, they said the bombs don't fall in Ghana. So why are we saying that that is why petrol prices have gone up and inflation has gone up? I'm shocked that now all of a sudden they are now arguing about global market prices. So none of these causal events can be taken off their table. They made the choices. These choices have now brought our cocoa industry into peril because now cocoa farmers will be wary about subsequent years, whether or not they should go heavy into production. And I fear a lot of people will leave the industry because of the kind of decisions that have been made.
Well, some messages here, Kojo. Let me quickly run by them. Emmanuel Ansa from Tema says, we all want a Ghana that works around the clock and competes globally.
True.
Where is the bridge here? Is there a part of this 24-hour vision that you actually find yourself rooting for, even if you disagree with how it's been executed? Okay, so let me get the question right. Where is the bridge here? Is there a part of this 24-hour vision that you actually find yourself rooting for, or even if you disagree how it's being executed? I don't know if you get it.
Yes, I do. Okay. He's asking, is there a point where we can agree with the government? Where's the bridge here?
Yeah.
Is there a part of this that we agree?
Yes.
I have said over and over again that the desire to boost productivity and jobs is something we agree on. We agree that we need to boost productivity and jobs. But we have submitted strongly that you don't boost productivity and jobs by setting up a 24-hour economy authority. In fact, in Parliament, we gave them examples of the top 6 cities that work for 24 hours. None of them has an authority. It is about doing things that ensure that the markets are deepened, there's liquidity to stimulate demand. That is what will now attract the production. Now, if you are sterilizing 60 billion Ghana cedis, you're actually going contrary to making money available for currency in circulation, which will then stimulate effective demand. And so we agree the bridge is between where we are and the desire to boost productivity and jobs. We agree that that is an important thing. The method they have chosen is what we are saying will not work. And we think they have chosen that method because they really do not intend to deliver a 24-hour economy. Because if they do, we've given you all the evidence. Why would you obstinately say, I won't do it? I want to set up an authority. Which authority will not deliver it?
Okay. All right. Some more messages here. Andrew Sefa from Cantonment says, if we took away the titles and the party colors for a moment, and you were just Kojo, the father and the citizen, what is your personal dream for the Ghanaian workspace 10 years from now?
My personal dream for the Ghanaian workspace is a workspace in which the cost of doing business is maintained at a level where it is affordable and efficient for the average person who has that business idea to be able to go about doing their business. So unfortunately, the cost of doing business, the cost of production is rising. That is one of the things that I've said. we need to pay a lot more attention to that. My brother Stika came up with a proposition in Parliament the other time, which I very much support. We need to deepen entrepreneurial knowledge among the average Ghanaian. Even if he's studying a professional course or something, we need to deepen entrepreneurial knowledge so that he can pick that professional course, and without waiting to be employed, he can go on an entrepreneurial spark and create some business for himself. And then the third thing is that, like President Kufuor said, you need to create that enabling environment, that ecosystem, which makes it easier for him. Once the cost of production or doing business is lower, once he has the entrepreneurial ability, an enabling environment that makes it comparatively easier for him to operate and to do business. And you would find that in the 2024 manifesto of the MPP and hopefully our 2028 manifesto, we had some very laudable ideas on how to make this happen. And this is irrespective of party interest or anything of that kind.
Okay. All right. So George Kojo from Teshi says, many young Ghanaians voted for this policy expecting immediate job openings. As the ranking member on the Economy and Development Committee, what is your message to the youth who are seeing the bill pass but might not see the jobs materialize? Okay. All right. So also on the cocoa sector, well, I think Kojo has talked about the cocoa issue, but Kojo, what's your reaction to this? How would you answer George Kojo?
George, I regret to tell a lot of the young people who believed in this 24-hour economy thing that the NDC did not intend to fulfill it. It was when they said it and it caught on and we started challenging them that they came up with the 133 rationalization of it. And you then notice that when they came to power, they've abandoned all of that. They've written a document that talks about boosting exports, boosting micro enterprise. These are things that have been done already. And painfully, the bill they have brought does not even respond to tripling the work cycle. I think that moving forward into the next election cycle, we all need to pay some more attention to the how. Not just the promise, but the how, and examine the how and the feasibility of the promises all of us make as politicians.
That's from both sides, right? Now, Philip Ankra from Kaswa, he says you've warned that young people are losing interest in cocoa. If a young man in your constituency asks, and there's a quote, "Why should I stay on the farm when the state can take away my profit in an instant?" What is your honest answer to him? Okay, what will be your honest answer to him?
That's a very deep question. A very, very deep question. I started a youth in cocoa initiative for young people in my constituency, about 100 acres for them. So far, we've done over 20 acres, and we are gradually acquiring more land for young people. We pay them a stipend. We get them the cocoa seedlings and the agric extension so that they will be able to create wealth for themselves through the cocoa industry. So it breaks my heart to see these decisions that are now making it unattractive for a lot more people, especially young people, to go into cocoa. I will say to a young person who is getting disheartened today that don't lose hope. We're only 2.5 years away from an election where you have the opportunity to put back in power a government that will not shortchange cocoa farmers. So that if you have made an investment into cocoa farming or you have made an investment into oil palm, you can be sure that those investments will not suffer from decisions of government that end up putting you in harm's way.
All right, Kojo, we are just about wrapping up our conversation for today, and I'm sure it's been wonderful. There's a message I'm seeing coming, but it's still yet to land. But we would have to wrap things up here because we have just about 19 more minutes to the top of the hour. And so once that message comes through and you're still here,
we can take it when it comes.
Yes. But for now, we'll move on to one other issue I wanted to ask. Are you critiquing the economics or the administrative vehicle for this whole...
For the 24-hour... No, it's the administrative vehicle.
Okay.
I have said over and over again that it is possible to get some sectors working round the clock. That's very possible.
Yeah.
But
because already there are some that are working.
Yes, but the administrative structures you put in place will determine whether the sectors that you are envisioning can work will actually work. If you put in place the wrong administrative structures, you will not get those sectors working. And what I see this government doing, sadly, is creating a bureaucracy, which bureaucracy will not deliver a tripling of the work cycle.
Okay, the message finally came through. Honorable, if factories are underutilized, why oppose a policy encouraging scaling?
Why are the factories underutilized? Is it that they have demand and they are not able to meet demand? No, that's not it. If a producer has extremely high cost of production and it is cheaper to import than for him to produce, then you will find imports flooding the market. So what you want to do is to make it easier for the buyer on the market to access a cheap option. And if in so doing, you're going to assist the buyer on the market or find a way that the buyer on the market will be able to demand some more of the local producer's products, you don't need to then tell the local producer to work for 24 hours. He himself will respond to it. I have a classic example. I went to Adom FM. There was a journalist interviewing me. I know he has a cold store. So I asked him, if at 11:30 p.m. there are people in front of your cold store with cash looking to buy your products, will you close your shop? He said, no. I said, that's how you tackle the problem. You don't tackle the problem by saying that you're going to reduce the cost of electricity for the cold store at night, so that the people won't come in the day, they'll come in the night.
Kojo, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful
this morning.
It's been wonderful having you in the studio. Kojo Oppong, Nkrumah MP for Ofuasia Yoruba and ranking member, the Economic Select Committee of Parliament, joining us this morning. And I'm sure after the sooner we'll have some time to talk again on the fallouts from that. Thank you so much once again. And this is the Asaase Breakfast Show. We have 15 more minutes to the top of the hour. We'll be crossing over to Kumasi shortly. Stay on.